Recently I was watching a video of a popular YouTube channel called Science File, and they talk about scientific concepts. And he said something very amazing which got me connected back to the best book of Neville Goddard, which is Out of This World, Thinking Fourth Dimensionally. The reason why I call it the best book is because in that Neville Goddard, in the most 1950s and 60s terminology, explains to you parallel realities, and he goes into depth of why law of assumption works, because a lot of people who always want to know why of things, that book is fundamental for them to read. We don't really need to understand the law of assumption or how to apply law of assumption to shift into your desired reality. You don't need to know the why, but once you understand the why, it all makes sense. And so this video that I watched, I will put the link in the description. It explains from the scientific perspective, the block theory, which is everything that can exist right now exists. And there is no such thing as time, and even space. And Neville Goddard says something similar in almost half a century ago in his book Out of This World, where he describes reality as being serial. It means that once you are on a certain trajectory, a conscious being like human you, if you don't change your consciousness and you follow a certain path, your reality is fixed. You are walking a predetermined path. And this Science File video says that in a block reality, you are in a block of time, which goes, it's not really going forward or backward. It's because you have memory from the previous frames of reality, and because of that you project from that memory into the future. You think that time is flowing forward, and you are stuck in that one block, and all other blocks or versions of you are called parallel realities also exist. But Science File does not answer how can you shift from one reality to another. Neville Goddard answers that, because first of all, it's a theory. Block theory is a theory, and science does not deal with consciousness or metaphysical aspects of things. So they cannot answer why and how, why you are here and how you can shift into another reality. But the fact that Neville Goddard said in his book almost half a century ago, he even admitted that he does not have the scientific proof of what he's talking about, because spiritual concepts are subjective. You cannot objectively prove to somebody else a spiritual concept. They have to live it, they have to enact it, they have to go through that experience, the spiritual experience, for them to understand. So it's subjective. But Neville Goddard gave us all the concept, and he asked everybody to apply it. But he said that science may someday explain, he prophesied that science may someday explain the nature of this reality as being serial. Means, and now I will try to explain how you can shift, and this is how you understand serial reality, which is, if you don't change in consciousness, if you live a programmed life day to day with little to minimal to no change in your consciousness, you will live a predetermined life, and your life is straight, your reality is straight, serial, and it will follow a certain trajectory which is predetermined. And to change to other blocks, you have to change in consciousness. Some drastic change, some drastic shift needs to happen. Now, the reason Science File or scientific channels cannot explain how to shift into parallel reality or from the metaphysical side is because scientific community mostly thinks that our brain is conscious and we are our brain, and the brain, once we die, that's it, we no longer exist. And there is a very simple way to prove that, but again, it's from spiritual perspective, and you have to do it to know it, which is out of body experiences. If you listen to Gateway tapes by Monroe Institute. I will put the link in the description. They teach you how to get into hemisync and leave your body. And Monroe Institute's the guy who made those tapes said that the moment you leave your body, you realize that you are not this body, and fear of death is removed instantaneously. Okay, that's an advanced concept, right? But we all dream at night, right? We all dream at night, and in the dream, it is known in spiritual circles that when you're dreaming, you are literally there. Your higher self, or the real self, which is not the brain, not the body, is living those lives there. And you are literally in those realities. So you are already leaving the body, and you are still there. You're still you. That proves easily that brain does not contain consciousness. Brain is just a tool in this physical world to function. We are conscious without it. So this is why, from scientific perspective, shifting realities, parallel realities cannot be explained. But Neville Goddard explains it via simple law, which is the law of assumption. And it goes even further before Neville Goddard, which in the Hermetic philosophy, which says the all is mind and the universe is mental. So if everything is mind and everything is a projection of a mind, a divine mind, then it's not solidly real or unchangeable, right? The only thing that does not change is God's awareness of being. Everything else in the temporal world, physical world, changes. So to describe the way how to shift into your desired reality, you have to present a drastically different concept of being in your mind, in your consciousness, and you have to stick with that. Now remember that in a serial reality and in the block theory of time, the time of block and your reality is fixed, is predetermined, and all the frames exist and they follow a certain sequence, and the sequence is determined by the memories that you carry from the past and the way you are projecting into the future, because you don't change much, so you are following a fixed block of time. Now Neville Goddard talks about in his book Thinking Four-Dimensionally that our real self, which I've just made a distinction, we are not our brain, we can leave this body. So that spirit side of us is the fourth dimensional self that can imagine and that actually thinks or has intuition. And original thought or intuition comes from that, and it's the experience of the fourth dimensional self, which he calls the inner man or the Christ within. Basically, when we deliberately start to think differently, when we become aware of our own consciousness and our own repetitive thought, that's the first step, becoming aware of your time block and the kind of thinking that you are doing regularly. From there, once you become aware, you change it. The moment you change it, you have literally shifted into another time block, because even if we don't consider parallel realities, or just from the pure psychological point, if a person is thinking of themselves as not being good enough, for example, every single day they think they're not good enough or not lovable, and all of a sudden they shift in the mind and say that I am lovable, I am good enough, and I have no apparent big flaws, and I am a good person, you know, all this, they build themselves up and they realize that they are in fact lovable and a good person, right? They stop beating themselves. So by just from the pure psychological point, they will start to have a different life, right? Because their confidence will boost up, and they will communicate with people differently, they will carry themselves differently, and all of a sudden people will receive them differently, just from psychological perspective, even if we don't consider the metaphysical aspect of it. But we all know, if we go to the ancient teachings of Hermeticism and what Neville Goddard teaches and what the ancients have told us, we realize that this world is not as solidly real or fixed as we are taught. The all is mind, the universe is mental, and time doesn't even exist. Everything exists in the mind of God right now is cyclical, and all versions exist, all sorts of dreams, whatever concept that you hold, if you can imagine it, it exists. And the reason why you are here in the life that you are living is because of the way who you are being in mind. And who you are being in mind, if you're not aware of your mind, you will live a predetermined and a premeditated or fixed time block which is unchangeable. It is already manifested, everything already exists. It is your consciousness that moves from one state to another. All states exist. Neville Goddard often quoted the Bible verse in which Jesus said that, "In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would not have told you so. And I will go and prepare a place for you, and then I will receive you unto myself." Now the simplest explanation that Neville Goddard gives of it is that Christ, which is your inner man, is telling you that everything exists in me and in Father. Father and me are one, basically. And what you need to do is, I will go and prepare a place for you, and I will receive you unto me. Basically, your inner man, or the Christ within, already has access to everything, all parallel realities. And so all you need to do is shift in consciousness and trust in it that it's going to get you there. So it will go then and prepare a place for you, and then it will receive you onto itself. Basically, your reality will shift completely if you remain faithful to your new state of being and your new founded assumption. And so this is how you can shift into a new reality. All of it exists. It makes us easy for us to shift into something new by understanding that it already exists in the mind of God. You will not make anything happen. It's every state, every time block has every process already manifested on how it's going to walk you through to the fulfillment, towards the fulfillment. So the house or the wife or the person that you want or the kind of life that you want, it already exists. And this is a great example. I am in Russia right now, but I'm originally from Pakistan, and I've lived in Malaysia. And I had zero, when I say zero, I mean zero idea that I was ever going to live in Russia. And because I met my wife online, and then from there it grew into this, and then I wanted to move to Russia, but I was in Malaysia. And if you don't know, for somebody from subcontinent Pakistan, India, it's a hell of a thing for us to get visas to other countries and get access to other countries. It's very difficult, right? We have a lot of restrictions. So I had this background programming, and I had my limited beliefs, but I persisted. I persisted in my vision, and I persisted in my vision that I will marry this woman, and I will move to this country, and I love greenery. I'm an extremely introverted person. I love to be by myself and be in less crowded places with less people. It's just a preference. And so here I'm living that life. This is a literal shift to another parallel reality. Now Russia exists, right? Places like this exist. I just encourage in my mind that I am there, right? I imagine walking in snow here. I imagine being with my wife. I imagine in the flat that I'm right now. And I imagined all that, and I persisted in that, right? So I was in a totally different block, completely different block. I never even thought of being here before I met my wife. So this is a proof that my life went from a trajectory that I was on, which was 180-degree from where I am right now, only because I shifted. I decided I want this, and then I persisted in my assumptions, and here I am. So this is a literal proof of how this application in practice, how it works, right? Now, it's very difficult to go to the metaphysical. Objectively proving how parallel realities work is impossible from even scientific perspective, right? Those are all theories, but subjectively, this is why spirituality has been ahead of science for thousands of years, right? Hermes said what is being proved or being explored now thousands of years ago, right? And Neville Goddard said something about serial realities like literally more than half a decade ago. But all that is subjective, right? You have to live it. This is when Neville Goddard says that now I have told you about the law, go and prove it, right? Apply it. Apply it, and if it proves in performance, that no more words are needed for you to be confirmed, to be seduced or trust in the law, right? So this is the problem, or so-called a hurdle in spirituality, because spirituality cannot be objectively proven to somebody unless that somebody actually believes and trusts in it and applies it in day-to-day life. And once they apply it, they get the result, and that's it. No more words are needed. So Neville Goddard was way ahead of his time, and all the ancients, you should read them. And I guess I wanted to make this video because this scientific video sparked this once again this idea in me that wow, Neville literally prophesied in his video that someday science will try to explain what I'm saying right now. But in spiritual experience, in your subjective experience, you can prove it right now by an assumption. So add an assumption, add a new assumption in your life, persist in it, and see the magic happen. The literal change in your world is gonna be far more convincing than any words that I can speak to you or Neville can speak to you. So try it, and you will. I have done it. I have shifted into my desired reality, and I'm continuously, of course, rewriting more and more assumptions. But this is a proof. In 2 to 3 years, I have completely, literally changed my life, and so you can do that too. And parallel realities are real. All is mind. The universe is mental. So if all is mind, mind can change matter. So keep that in mind, and until next time, bye-bye.